Well, the great wage debate rages on. Two D.C. Walmarts opening this morning following months of controversy, but the fight is not over. The D.C. City Council just voted to boost the city's minimum wage to $11.50 an hour by 2016. It is $8.25 right now. That is a big jump. Here now is the man behind the plan, D.C. City Councilman Vincent Orange. Thanks so much for joining us. Have you heard from Walmart? I mean, they opened their doors today, and you guys vote to raise the minimum wage by almost $3.
Oh, absolutely. I was with Walmart last night at their pre-opening at the store on 8th Street. This morning I joined them at their store on Georgia Avenue. All seems to be well. They've opened their stores, and the council passed on a vote to 13-0, a minimum wage of $11.50.
So did you talk about this specifically?
Oh, no, I mean, it was just a happy feeling last night and this morning. People know they're going to have the minimum wage, and Walmart knows they're going to sell their wares in the District of Columbia.
Why do you think that you need to increase the minimum wage by so much? I mean, for example, if you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I mean, less than 3% of people make minimum wage. Don't you feel like there are things in D.C. that deserve more of your attention, like crime?
I think what we need in the District of Columbia is a better quality of life for our residents, and they can have that with a minimum wage of $11.50 per hour as opposed to $8.25 per hour, which is about $15,000 on an annual basis. Just child care is about $13,000. What is one to do? We don't want to have our residents living in shelters and then going to work every day and then have to go and apply for food stamps, need a housing voucher.
But those aren't people. If you look at the labor statistics, I mean, those aren't the people that are working for minimum wage. Half of the people that are working for minimum wage are under 25 years old. 62% of them are enrolled at school. I mean, these aren't single moms who are living on their own or people who are trying to support a whole family. And these are people who are under 25, who are students, who are living at home, who are trying to get into the economy, get their experience, get that first job. And by raising the minimum wage, there'll be fewer jobs for those people trying to begin their life as productive workers.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you. That may have been the model 5 or 6 years ago, but with sequestration, we lost 8,000 jobs in the District of Columbia. We have people that have been making a decent wage that need to continue making a decent wage. They have tuition,
cut off jobs at McDonald's. I mean, how do you connect sequestration with people who are making minimum wage at places like McDonald's and burger joints? Those two things don't go together. I mean, sequestration didn't cut off money for minimum wage at restaurants.
Well, you know, first of all, that's not absolutely true. I mean, you will find all kinds of workers in these fast food places because the economy has been bad. But the bottom line is the District of Columbia provides for a minimum wage. Walmart opened their doors. In fact, we were surprised to learn that the starting wage at Walmart is $9.25 per hour, even now. So we've had a great impact because they were talking $8.25 per hour. And now we're going to take it to $11.50 per hour with indexing after 2016. And we have not heard any opposition from Walmart.
But you understand that there were 23,000 people that applied for 600 jobs at Walmart. I mean, that means that 2.6% of the people who applied, that's how many actually got a job there. There are plenty of people who want those jobs. They obviously don't think they're bad jobs. Why do you feel like you have to so dramatically change the wage there if it looks like it's working just fine?
Well, it's not working fine, and the bottom line is the 600 people that will be working there will be receiving a minimum wage. We brought Costco into the District of Columbia. Their average hourly rate is $21.96 per hour.
I don't think the 600 people there are earning minimum wage. I mean, the average associate wage at Walmart is $12.87.
That's the average wage, but I've looked at their numbers, and they bring people in at $8.25 per hour. But that's not going to happen in the District of Columbia. We have the highest disposable income in the nation. We have residents moving into our city on a monthly basis. The growth for Walmart is in the inner cities, and that's the reason why they're facing opposition in New York, Chicago, San Francisco.
If you have the highest disposable income, then it seems like you don't need to raise anybody's wages. I mean, if you have the most disposable income, you're already all set.
No, we're not set because we have to pick up the safety net costs. I mean, imagine yourself. Could you live off of $15,000 on an annual basis? And why would you want someone else to live off $15,000 on an annual basis?
I absolutely got out of college, and my first job was minimum wage. I worked while I was in college to save money so that I could have that job, so that I could start in this industry and work my way up. And that job was available.
How long
it was
ago
minimum
was that?
wage at the time. I mean, it wasn't $8, it was $6.10. when I got out of school with a college degree so that I could work in this industry and work my way up. That's what an entry-level job is. That's what that station could afford. That's why I came in and did it, and then I worked my way up to where I am now. That's the American way. That's how people get started. It's not meant to be a job that you have your whole life and that you support a whole family on, and the statistics from our government show that's not who's working for minimum wage.
Well, what we show in the District of Columbia is that we're standing strong for a minimum wage of $11.50 per hour, and what we're seeing is Walmart has acquiesced, and we're all moving forward. I mean, when you have a CEO that makes $11,000 an hour or $200 a minute and drives these great cars, how can you say that you want to pay somebody?
You know how you can say that, City Councilman?
Wage?
Because he started making minimum wage loading boxes at Walmart. That's how he got his job, that CEO, that very guy you're talking about. He started as an hourly worker as well. City Councilman, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time, and I hope you will come back to the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. So that's one side of the story. Here now with the reaction is Sabrina Schaefer from the Independent Women's Forum and Capitalist Pig hedge fund manager Jonathan Hoenig, who's also a Fox News contributor. Sabrina, go ahead. What'd you think of that?
Well, you know, I think that the councilman is recognizing that we do have a very serious problem of poverty here in the District of Columbia. I just drove by the shelter on my way here to the studio. But where he's wrong and where he's misguided, unfortunately, is that boosting the minimum wage doesn't actually make those low-skilled workers any more valuable to the labor market. It just means that places like Walmart, as you suggested, are going to hire fewer people. And it's especially bad for young, unskilled workers because they're not simply looking for compensation. They're looking for their skills so that they can then get the next job. And I think that it's a gross oversight.
See, Jonathan, I totally, you know, when he says you couldn't live on this wage, you couldn't support your family on this wage, that is absolutely true. I don't think anyone argues that.
Right.
The problem is that this is a wage you earn to get started in the system working, and then over time you're supposed to gain the skills and the education to move out and do something else. The problem is the very few people who get stuck as a career in a minimum wage job, and that's the problem we should be addressing, is how to train those people and give them skills and get them moving somewhere else, not forcing Walmart to have a higher minimum wage so they'll help fewer people get started on their careers. Where did I go wrong with that, Jonathan?
I think you're right on the money, Melissa. I mean, minimum wage causes unemployment. That's not my judgment. That was the judgment of the Labor Department back in 1938 when the first minimum wage was enacted. And every prominent economist over the many, many decades has agreed the minimum wage is discrimination. It's discrimination against, exactly as Sabrina and you have pointed out, those low-skilled workers who need that first job. Only about 4% of people making the minimum wage are actually supporting a family full-time. And most of those individuals are able, whether it's at Walmart or McDonald's or anywhere else, move up the ladder. I mean, you got 40% of McDonald's CEOs started making minimum wage. I believe something like 75% of store managers at McDonald's started making minimum wage, started at the bottom. So what you do by enacting it is simply discriminating and hurting the people exactly that these people are supposed to help.
You know, Sabrina, it's interesting that Walmart came in, you know, they fought this battle. You know, it was going to keep them out of the District of Columbia. They came, and then as soon as they opened their doors, the city council passes this. Did they see it coming, do you think? I mean, what do you think they did? Okay, go ahead.
I think they did. I mean, look, this has been a very contentious debate. And what's interesting is now the councilmen and Democrats in D.C. are sort of embracing Walmart as this great savior. But for months and months and months, the people of Washington could have been benefiting from lower prices and more affordable, healthy food options in an area that doesn't have it. And it's the D.C. Council that has really stood in the way of all of this. And the minimum wage conversation now is really a distraction from real regulatory reforms that could actually boost business in the city. Real reforms like expanding the DC Opportunity Scholarship Program so people have more educational choices. I mean, this is a mask of a much deeper problem.
Jonathan,
and all Walmart can do is trade. They trade with their customers. They trade with their employees. It's all voluntary, and everyone is satisfied. Unfortunately, the councilman has the ability to use force, and that's exactly what this is. The minimum wage is force against both employers and employees. It does neither of them any benefit. The one it does help are the unions, who are really behind this movement, not because they make minimum wage, but their wages are indexed to minimum wage. So essentially, we're trusting the same institutions that bankrupted the autos, the education industry, the airline industry. We're putting economic policy in their hand, and D.C. is ground zero right now.
All right, going to leave it there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.